Congratulations to Poryco researcher
Plubcol and Federex.
Thanks to your initiative in undocumented experimentation, you have been awarded the Expanded Research Grant, so that you and your team of talented Poryco scientists may continue to aid the world in the realms of Pokemon research. To claim your winnings, please give detailed explanations on how these Pokemon were created. And hey, welcome to the broader Poryco family. I'm the Thesterninator, but my friends call me Stern, and today we'll be looking into some more horrific Poryco experiments. But I'm not alone, as I'm joined today by two talented creators, Plubcol and Federex. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Plubcol, and you can find me on Instagram under the same name. And I am the one who created all of the concepts and ideas that you'll see in this video, including the main story.
Hello, my name is Federex, and you can find me on Instagram as Trainer Rex or on YouTube as Federex. And I'm the guy that designed all the beasts that you will see pretty soon.
And I am so ecstatic to have these guys here. This kind of collaboration came about on a whim, and I am so glad that it did. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into today's video and today's Pokemon. So the first Pokemon that we're looking up is one that was designed by Plubcol, drawn by Federex, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. It's a really cool design that I want to learn more. So can you guys tell me about this fantastic Pokemon?
So essentially, the idea behind Hitmonchan, firstly, I needed a big bad for the main story being told. I knew right off the bat I wanted Hitmonchan to be some kind of wrestling theme, because since it's an evil one, I figured it could be like a heel. And I don't know much about wrestling, so I started looking up, some of the most popular heels in wrestling. The main one I kept seeing was Mr. I don't know how to say his name properly. I think it's Mr. McMahon. Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. It's McMahon?
Yeah, that's just how he spells it.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Well, whatever. Hitmonchan sounds better.
Yeah. I like it a lot better than Hitmonman.
Yeah, that would be really goofy. But essentially the idea was, since his whole character in WWE was that he's the mastermind, he's controlling things behind the string, he's causing all of the events of the story to happen using his mind control and his controlled guards to sort of push the researcher Victor along. And really, the main reason I chose a Hitmonchan was because I noticed there's kind of a trend with some of the Poryco experiments. There's a couple where they're an addition to a new family of Pokemon, and then there's like one or two that are relating to a gimmick, hence one of the ones coming up later. So I kind of tried to look at the official Poryco experiments and do something that I felt was similar enough to what you had done, but something still different.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, when you said I noticed a trend, my first thought was, oh, please be a purposeful trend. Don't let it be a theory that I did not think. But that absolutely is a trend going on with the ARG. So I'm glad you caught on to it. I'm glad that you're able to format the story about it. Rex, do you want to tell us a little bit about the design process with this Pokemon?
Sure. So, with this design, I was actually a bit in a difficult spot because I'm not used to design too many humanoid characters as Pokemon. And since the line that he chose was the Hitmon line, a line that I personally dislike as a subjective point of view, I was in a bit of trouble. But with the help of Plubcol, with his direction and the little sketch he sent me, I had a better idea to figure everything out. So I took a bit of elements from Tyro, like the sort of crest, the plate crest that he has. I tried to transform that into horns to better fit all the vibe with also the rest of them. And the rest of it was basically more so a sort of explanation of what Plub said me. The wrestler he was inspired to had as a costume, so a sort of suit, a mask, and the belt, which when I was designing the belt, Plub suggested to make it look like a Machamp belt to better fit the idea that this is a real champion, not like Machamp. So to sort of fit in also that kind of lore. I wouldn't say nothing else. I don't think I have anything else to say. I tried to fuse it the best at my capabilities with the rest of the family.
Why did you throw so much shade at Machamp?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I came up with the belt, it was less supposed to be like, it was like, oh, it's better than Machamp, and I'm not too sure if this would be the case, but I like the idea that it actually straight up stole one from a Machamp. Like, it did not earn that. It stole that thing.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Machamp.
Yeah, it super fits that heel vibe of like, I'm just gonna come and take the belt. I deserve it, and I like that a lot. It's a very cool thing, and also adding in that like, what is it? That adversarial aspect between the like Machamp line and the Hitmon line, I think is really cool. With them being like our first gen fighters, but beyond them being our first gen fighters, they didn't really have a lot that they did with one another. They were just both fighters, but there was like two lines. And so it's interesting that those were kind of brought in as inspirations together to create that vast story between them.
The experiment referred to as Hitmohan was created for two purposes by Poryco. One was simply to test if they could strike gold once more when creating another member to a group of Pokémon, such as the other experiments known as Simisurge and Headlock. The other was in an attempt to make what they believed would be the ultimate fighter, a Pokémon that could easily predict the moves of others and combat them properly. Their efforts worked too well, however, as Hitmohan had begun to plot the demise of its so-called masters from within its cell since the moment it was born, pulling the strings behind the scenes as it controls and manipulates people and Pokémon alike. Despite everything that Poryco doesn't know about the creature, at the end of the day, they've labeled it a success.
Next up is another Pokemon designed by you guys that I want to talk about. Man, do I have so many questions. I'd love to learn more and see if I could potentially get some answered. And that is your Dolphin Pokemon based on Palafin and its other one. What's the name?
Hero Mode.
It's Hero Mode Palafin. Yeah. So I'd love to hear more about it. What do you guys got?
One thing that I wanted to do with the story is the experiments as we go throughout this start to ramp up in terms of just how disturbing it gets. Because the whole idea with the story is Victor is slowly unearthing how terrifying Poryco truly is. So to do that, I wanted each one to be a little bit more disturbing. And in a sort of story sense and a literal sense, Poryfin is a halfway point in the story because it is literally a forced evolution between like normal Palafin and Hero Mode Palafin. Poryco was trying to essentially form an army of like Palafins for security because, you know, Hero Mode Palafin, insanely powerful Pokemon, very loyal to its trainer. They tried to create that, but due to the fact that Poryco probably doesn't have the best interest in mind, and also Hero Mode doesn't work like that, it didn't work. And essentially the idea behind all of that was I was trying to invoke feelings of something like RoboCop, you know, where it's characters where you see the humanity ripped away from them by this organization. In this case, whatever the Pokemon equivalent of the word humanity would be, Pokemanity, I guess. It's essentially Palafin. You could see it in the design. Its eyes are all sort of grayed out. The heart that was on its chest now is now symbolically broken in half to not only show the two halves of the different forms, but show that the justice and the honor behind this Pokemon is just gone. There's nothing left. And it's now just become a shell for this organization to use it as a weapon. And it's supposed to be a more tragic tale before leading into the final, way more upsetting tale, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad to know that things get better. Oh, nobody said better.
Oh, no, it gets worse.
Things get
much worse.
Different. Rex, first, why don't you tell us kind of the design elements that came into bringing this to life? It's such a fun and crazy and dark concept. There's so much at balance here. I'm so interested in how that was brought about.
Yeah, basically, This one, surprisingly, at least for me, was the hardest design to make, because it was not easy to fuse a very dolphin and animalistic design like Palafin normal form with a zero form, super humanoid and all of that. In fact, I first did another draft, which was more quadrupedal. I added 2 legs, and it was a bit strange, but as Plub said, it didn't have a lot of the elements that he wanted, like the broken heart on his chest. You couldn't see that since it was all hunched over and more animalistic. So I had to remake it, and I ended up with this design. And when I was doing this, I was kind of holding back on some elements because I thought, but this doesn't feel very Pokemon-like on all that. Then I checked I did some research on some design, and I ended up seeing the Carnivine, the G-Max Carnivine you did. And I said, okay, if this is part of this project, I think a more robotic kind of design can fit very easily. So I ended up pushing a lot with the feature, exaggerating some others and all of that. And while sketching, also, just since me and Plub usually are in call while we're working on this design, joking around, another guy that was with us suggested to instead of legs or robotic legs to add wheels. And as soon as I did that, I don't know why I thought of Joe Swanson from Family Guy. I just added a big chin on Palafin.
I don't know why you did either, but I can say I'm almost disappointed that that's not the final design.
We were tempted.
We were very tempted, but in the end, we stick with this.
Yeah, it looks really good. I really like so many of the concepts because the roboticism of it isn't something that I've brought into Poryco yet, but it's so like right up that alley. Like it definitely works. And I think like when I first saw these designs, it's interesting that you say, oh, this was the one that gave me the most trouble. I think that was the design that I was like, I've got to get these guys in here. This is great. It's such a different avenue than what I'd done already, but still like worked. And it was like, I saw it and I thought, oh, of course. Why wouldn't we? And another thing with it is I see I don't want to bag on anybody, but I see so many like Palafin fan arts where they turn him into like, okay, he's the hero, we'll make a villain. So it's interesting to have it instead be this RoboCop inspired, like reluctant hero almost, rather than the hero or the villain, but going this weird gray area middle ground. And I think that's awesome. That's super cool. I'm pumped about it.
Also, fun little note, but I assumed you could tell from the name being Poryfin, it's named that because it's essentially mass-produced, manufactured by Poryco. But something you may not know is I specifically pulled the colors for this one. Every single major color, other than the gray, is pulled from Porygon Z's color palette.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
Wow, it's close enough to the actual Pokemon that I wouldn't have even noticed. So it's one of those fun little Easter eggs. Of like, oh wait, some of these are changed up a little bit. Why? Oh, it's because that's awesome. Even getting that yellow from Porygon Z's eye into the laser arm thing, that's awesome. I'm like, oh, I love it. I want one, which I guess is the problem. Like,
yeah, it's like you probably shouldn't want one, but they're cool. They're pretty cool.
Poryco created their patented Poryfin models through an attempt to make a Palafin that remained permanently in its hero form. Their many attempts to create it failed until they managed to inject an evolving Finizen with their quote-unquote secret sauce. It created a horrifying halfway point between the two forms, which then they grafted cybernetics to in order to keep it under control. The legion of Poryfin models are now used by Poryco to keep some of their most dangerous experiments way deeper in the facility, safe and secure within their cells. The sense of justice these creatures once had has been crushed and corrupted completely, as they attack any intruders or escapees on sight with no mercy. Many researchers believe that the Palafin that was once there is mentally no longer present. Despite the sad state the Poryfins are in, Poryco themselves still consider them to be successes.
So this brings us to our last of the 3 designs, one that I am very excited to talk about. They say a father's not supposed to have a favorite child, but I'm not technically these one's father, so this is the favorite child of the 3. I love it so much. It is.
That's okay. It's mine too.
Yeah, I'll let you guys go ahead and explain it because you have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, no, I will say, I am not going to be gentle. Yeah, this is my favorite of the 3. Terastali was the first one I came up with, which is crazy because I figured it was originally going to come first, but when the story kind of came into my mind, I figured save the best for last because this guy is, just to be blunt, the best of the 3. The big thing was, like I said, I've noticed there was kind of a trend with some of the Poryco experiments, but one that I had noticed that you did that really caught my eye was Sporovine, where it was them trying to do something with a transformation in Pokemon or like a gimmick form that they failed. And I'm like, it would be a really cool concept to do that with. Terastallization, because that is one that makes sense. There's only 2 known Terastal forms. It's Ogerpon with its masks, and Terapagos with its weird stellar form thing that it's got going on. So I figured if Poryco figured out about that, they'd probably want to see how they could replicate it themselves. Originally, I was going to do a crystalline Pokemon like Carbink or originally Glamora, until shout out to a friend of mine, Lonk, suggested to pick Sableye and treat it as like, as you can see in the design, this sort of like cave with a goblin underneath it because it literally has a Terraden just stuck onto its back. So as explained in the story, essentially the design process that I had was to show just how big of a failure Terastali was, because first it has the mask just stuck to its face. They tried originally to just put it on, didn't work, so they just stuck it on permanently. If it would work, nothing happened. And then from there, they of course start to feed it the Terra Crystals, and then it just becomes a massive hive for these things. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't entirely know why that idea popped into my head, but I just thought about how terrifying it is. The concept of like zombies in general, or like infections from a creature, are always terrifying. But we see in the actual game itself, the AI professors sort of being overtaken by Terra Crystals. And I remember just how genuinely terrifying that moment was in the game. One of the creepiest things I've ever seen in Pokemon. So I figured, what if this creature did that, but on a mass scale? Like if this thing got out, it would just start infecting everything around it. So I wanted to be this big mutated monster that, because of the massive amount of experiments they've done on it, Terastali is barely a Sableye anymore.
Yeah, it's spooky, and it's such an interesting concept and design that I'm gonna make it known here and now. If you're sending me anything on Discord, you guys specifically, I'm not looking at it. I've been looking at a picture of this Pokemon almost the entire time. Oh, I'm not seeing anything
fair.
Sent to me right now. But I love the concept of that cave dwelling goblin becoming the cave. Like, it's such an interesting idea, and then it was executed so well that I need to hear from the guy who executed the drawing. So Rex, tell me, like, are you okay?
No, definitely not. But so when Plub told me the idea, I thought, okay, this is fire. It's super cool. I need to realize this as the best of my capabilities. And then he sent me the sketch that he made, and he gave me a sort of idea and vibe, and I work with that. But for the actual design elements, I took some inspiration from a couple of things. The first one is a series called Primal, I think, if I remember correctly, which is basically this caveman with a Tyrannosaurus that goes around and have adventure and all sort of that. I don't really follow the series, but I remember that from this series there is a virus that makes like dinosaurs look like zombies, and I saw this Argentinosaurus, or basically long-necked dinosaur, which was turned into this zombie, and it was terrifying. And so I tried to take some inspiration from that, but also to remain into that kind of vibe of fearsome and ferocity from the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World. So this sort of hybrid and genetic machine that could kill anything that goes around. And the last thing also since he had a big crystal dent on its back, and the sort of club tail is obviously pulling off a bit from Ankylosaurus. Since I'm a very reptile and dinosaur guy, I kind of had to throw in some elements to make it look cool in my point of view. Still, I'm extremely happy with this result. Rendering that crystal was hell, quite literally. And yeah, also another little thing of the design that I just remembered. I remember that Plub wanted the teeth to look to be sort of jagged crystals. In the end, in the actual design, I decided to make them this sort of yellow to also reference a bit the Mega Sableye, but also because I think the contrast of the inside of the mouth glowing with these yellow creepy teeth all torted and distorted, I thought it was very creepy and would fit a bit more with the sort of gem teeth. Well, even if both ideas were very solid and cool.
There's so many like focal areas, like everything is so bright, but like, yeah, the choice of the yellow for the teeth there, like I'm looking at it, like experimenting it, like I'll look at the tail, but I can still see like the teeth out of the corner of my eye. And that is like, I think that's such a cool, like predator type of aesthetic. The bigger success here, I think, for you guys on what you did is you made terastallization cool, which
thank you.
People have said was impossible. I mean, I think of that meme of like the Persian with the ring pop on its head, like this is what we got. And like if we would have gotten this, I think terastallization could have well overtaken like Megaforms and Gigantamax as like the de facto coolest gimmicks. And
I agree.
Like this, I think this is, I want to say this is what we wanted, but this is so far beyond what I think any of us even knew to want. And I can't imagine the pain that you're in, Rex, over generating all of these, like this texture layer over the whole thing. I watched the video of you, like how you did it, and I was like, wow, he makes it look so easy. I know it's a nightmare, but it looks easy. Like
the point is, at the time when I placed the color and I said, okay, the rendering will be painful. No, placing the colors was because I couldn't just take the color, pop it there, and call it a day. No. Here I had to make all the little layout of the colors of the crystal and then fill them all in. It was painful. Only that. The rendering was actually less painful than I thought, but the color placing was hell.
Terastallai, the Terra Hive Pokemon, a dark and stellar type. Terastallai is a living example of when science goes too far. Attempting to create their own terraform, like Ogerpon or Terapagos, Poryco originally grafted a Terra mask to a Sableye in hopes of it gaining a new form. When this naturally didn't work, they force-fed the poor creature Terra crystals to see the possible reaction. They got their wish and more when the Sableye began to warp and mutate, bursting into a living hive of infectious Terra crystals. Anyone who even comes in contact with the creature for even a brief moment will slowly begin to be overtaken by Terra crystals after a period of time, starting with a distinct, unending itchy feeling. When the host finally begins to sprout crystals, just like Terastallai, they come under its command. It took them a long time to contain the beast, with Rock and Stone directly taken from Area Zero being the only thing that could contain it. Thanks to its infectious nature and the way it attacks pretty much anything in sight, Poryco has naturally labeled Terastallai as a failure.
Yeah, well, you guys did awesome.
I am just as evil as Poryco for doing that to you. I'm evil for that.
Yeah. Plub took the role of Poryco and was like, now make me a monster.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, could I mention like a fun little couple details about the story?
Oh, absolutely. I would love to hear it. I was hoping we were going to get into this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I figured this might as well be the best place to end it off. So for some people, probably a little bit confused on how the story went. The main idea is that this was all an orchestrated escape attempt from Hitmonchan. So it's essentially got all of its guards stationed. It's been planning this for years and wanted a specific researcher to essentially lure them in, trick them into trusting it by revealing the horrors of Poryco, and then causing some big distraction so it could escape. Hitmonchan did not care what happens towards Victor whatsoever. It was solely just like, he didn't care if he lived or died. It was just to make sure that he could escape the facility. And because of that, if you'll notice, Victor has a very interesting name. Not only is his last name Timber to still fit in with like Pokemon professors, but if you take the first halves of both of his first and last name, you'll see his fate was kind of spelled from the start of the story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, did Rex not know?
Wait, you didn't? I thought I told you.
No. No.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me.
No, he was doomed from the start. The moment I came up with this, I'm like, Victor is not living through this story. It's typical, like, I was trying to phrase it as like a sort of SCP story, because those are my favorite kind of horror stories, where we see this researcher slowly more and more go into the horrors of what they're discovering, and at the end of the day, they don't make it through.
Yeah, that's what you did to Rex right now.
Yeah, I really did do that.
Yeah, you did.
I'm just as evil. Yeah, what can I say, man?
Yeah, you're explaining like, yeah, it's a researcher who's developing this, not really fully understanding what the evils that they're creating are. I'm like, yeah, like when you just told Rex.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We've learned nothing. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here. This has been awesome. Since I saw the art, I was like, I got to get these guys in. I got to talk to them because they have explaining to do. And this stuff is so beyond what I ever expected with this type of like experiment that I've been doing. And the fact that this is what came of it, or what is coming of it, is just, it blows me away. This is stupendous. You guys are incredibly talented. And I urge everyone who's watching to go down in the description where I'm going to have all their links. Check out their stuff, because tip of the iceberg, baby. This is great stuff specific to Poryco, but there's so much great stuff that they're both working on their own projects. And I strongly urge you to go and check these guys out. They got some really good stuff, and they're a very talented group of guys working together on these things. So as we finish up here, if you guys have any sign-offs, feel free. I know you guys have some projects you're working on that I'm sure people would love to hear about. You were talking to me a little bit about them before, but I don't matter. Tell the audience.
So, soon I will start again posting my Italy-based region, the Ivris region, and I plan to finally finish it with every trainer, gym leader, story, and all of that. And soon, after me and Plubcol finished our personal regions, we will have a fun new projects that we're working on.
So on my page, I plan to be posting, or reposting, I guess, because I'm restarting it as well, my Pennsylvania-based region, known as RMR. That sort of acts like as a soft reboot of the Pokemon franchise. So if you like these weird, like, kind of out there designs for Pokemon, well, we haven't gotten to them yet. Eventually, I'll be doing kind of similar stuff for that region. Probably not anything as crazy as, like, Terrastali, but close for some of them. And I'm also doing stuff like Ben 10. I plan to post, like, Minecraft stuff soon. I'm very much... I do a lot of Pokemon stuff, but at the end of the day, since I work with a ton of different artists, which is always such a blast, I plan to do a lot of different things. So you'll find a lot when you come to my page.
All right, well, I guess with all that said, again, check them out in the descriptions below. It sounds like you know where to find Me, Federex, and Plubcol, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Woo.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Halloween. It's been like 5 days, but happy Halloween.
Before we close out the video, I want to talk about the challenge that we've been doing throughout the month of October. Each week I gave a different prompt to our group over there on the Discord, which is found down below, and they went nuts on doing just amazing art. So I'm going to be showcasing for our prompt Fairy Tale this week. Coming in hot, we have Alejandro Acosta giving us this 2-stage Red Riding Hood line where she becomes the wolf. We also have AM working on this fairy chimney type of design. I had to look up fairy chimneys, and it's a really cool idea, and I love the concept. After that, we have Bifskit working with Vita Carnis, which is a cool like game type of system that I'm learning about now, and the idea of how characters are changed at the end of the story, specifically how villains go through like this punishment. We also have Blue Artist 246 with this variant to Diglett and Dugtrio with an extra evolution, which is super creative, super fun. I love this idea so much. After that, we have Bite with our classic Frog Prince. I love his little face there. Danny Dynasty gave us this 3-stage ogre or orc type of concept, which I think is really cool. The shading and the lighting just blow me away, and adding those scars just gives it a little bit of extra texture, especially with how they change throughout the design. DGO gave us another Red Riding Hood Pokemon that's so different from what we've seen so far, and I love the 3 stages. Dino's art account gave us this really, really awesome like wolf concept, and it's amazing. I think wolves are hard to do, so this came out great. Egg gave us this castle with a princess inside, very Rapunzel-esque, while Palatal was created by Evan the Frosty. It is a living tower. We also have Gym Leader JC with this pumpkin Jack-o'-lantern, fun name, and Hunter Giratina giving us this 3-stage variant to Ekans and Arbok with an extra one at the end called Enitnepris, which is serpentine backwards. I love how it just changes color like that. Inhi XD gave us this 2-stage possum line based on both the Pied Piper and Robin Hood. JT comes in after that, giving us a literal fairy tale, a tale on a fairy Pokemon. I love it. K-Row gave us this insane variant evolution to one of our werewolf Pokemon from the previous video. Kirby the Frog giving us Tooth Fairies. I love them so much. Liam hitting us up with the Cheshire Cat, which its mouth also mimics a moon. Super fun, super creative. Mice gave us a 2-stage gnome line. I love gnomes. And just the concept of having its hat turn into a castle type shape is so fun. Nair gave us another gnome here with Frost Gnome. I love his little red nose, I love his little icy hat, and I love that shiny. Obsidian Fox gave us Where the Wild Things Are as Pokemon, one of my favorite books, followed by Salty Phony with a 3-stage line based on the Moon Rabbit. Truthfully, really surprised we haven't had an actual Pokemon designed off of this inspiration yet, because it's such a cool concept. Salvris comes in right after that with a cauldron and a witch, where the first form is the witch in the cauldron, second form is the witch cooking in her cauldron, and that big long flowy white hair is so fun. Sunny D, Not the Drink, comes in with this design, and it's just so cute. I love it, and I'm so glad that we're able to get 3 stages. I imagine it just gets cuter every time. Oop, I was wrong. That is terrifying and spooky and sad. After that, we have the Damn Stylist coming in with our last entry for October. Thank you guys so much for taking part in this challenge. I'm hoping to do more challenges like this, so hop on down into the Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.